So you're thinking about moving to Atlanta, or maybe not Atlanta, maybe you're just wondering like, should I buy, should I sell? What the hell is going on with the real estate market in the United States? And that's exactly what we're gonna talk about in this video. In the last couple of videos, we've talked about Realtor.com, we've talked about Zillow, we've talked about the National Association of Realtors. All that's great, but real estate is hyper local. So we're gonna take that and we're gonna boil it down to what's going on here in Atlanta. So if you're thinking about moving to Atlanta and you wanna know what's going on in the market, stick around and we're gonna get after it right now. Sizzle reel.
Yeah, sizzle reel.
Did you pick your nose while I was talking?
I waited for you to go like this, and I'm like, dude, I got a tickle on my nose. I'm going, don't move, don't move, don't move.
Leave it in.
Steve, if he picks his nose, leave it in. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about eating, sleeping, working, playing, the good and the bad of living in Atlanta, Georgia, well, subscribe below and ring the bell for notifications so you can see when we release new content and stay up to date on the market. My name's Denny, this is Jeff and Hutch, my partners, and we are living in Atlanta, Georgia. We absolutely love it. We get calls each and every day from people just like you looking to make the move to Atlanta, and we'd love to be a resource. So whether you're moving next week, next year, or anytime in between, call, text, email, schedule a Zoom as our favorite. We'd be happy to help you make a smooth move to Atlanta. As I've mentioned, we're gonna take really the overall statistics in the national real estate market, and we're gonna distill that down to what's going on here locally in Atlanta. So if you're thinking about buying or selling or investing in Atlanta, then you can make a sound decision. So with that, if you didn't catch some of our last videos, go back, look at them. I talked a lot about Zillow and Realtor.com and the National Association of Realtors and kind of what was going on there. But essentially what we've seen nationally is that over the last couple of months, about June, depending on which source you look at, prices peaked. Around May, interest rates shot up from around 3 to, I think they hit August, September, they were over 7. They've come down a little bit. So that's what's going on in the country. Most of all of those resources are forecasting what I would consider a flat market. The National Association of Realtors thinks that prices are gonna go up nationally 0.3%. I'd call that flat. But that's misleading because California, they're projecting 10 to 15% drop. Atlanta, they're projecting 5 or 6% increase. Realtor.com had sales volume across the country down 6.8%, but Atlanta up 6.8%. So it really does depend on your local market. Even when we talk about the data today and we share statistics on Atlanta, that doesn't mean city of Atlanta's the same as Alpharetta, because it's not.
Right.
For sure this will be helpful. You'll get a lot of value out of the video, but I don't want you to think that you've got the whole story. You should always call us because we'll tell you specifically based on the markets you're thinking about buying in, the markets you're thinking about selling in, the markets you want to invest in, exactly what's going on in that zip code, in that neighborhood, in that market, so you can make good decisions. So that being said, overall volume is supposed to be down across the country. Price is supposed to hold steady, but you'll see some could be down significantly on the West Coast, the Northwest, even the Northeast, but the Midwest and the Southeast are really poised to have every single list we look at. Zillow's came out today. Atlanta was on that. Top 10 markets for Zillow, top 10 markets for Realtor, #1 market for NAR. I mean, Atlanta's gonna be a great market, but prices are gonna be up here. Volume's gonna be up here. That's not the case everywhere else. So, Hutch, rather than me talking about generalities, exactly what's going on in the greater Atlanta area.
So in general, what's going on around here, at least last month, right, last few months really, is we are in that transition from the COVID mania where people thought that there was never going to be another home sold again. There's going to be no more homes. There it is. I'll never get a home if I don't buy now, right? Wrong. There's no need to buy in a panic, but if you had to buy, right, there was just such low inventory. So in those COVID years, a couple of years, we were looking at, in this area, 2 weeks worth of inventory, right? I mean, there was 2 weeks of home supply and stuff.
So what is normal?
That's a great question, right?
Normal.
So in a balanced market, which, housing isn't usually in a balanced market, but there are periods of time, extended periods of time where it is more balanced.
People have heard seller's market, buyer's market. Seller's market is when there's not a lot of homes for sale, low inventory. Buyer's market, nobody's buying. So if you are buying, you've got all the leverage.
Yeah, 2000 2008, to put it into perspective, right? You're looking at 15, 16 months worth of homes. So when I say months worth of supply, I mean, if no other home ever came to market, right, it would take 16 months to digest what is on the market at that time.
That was like 08.
That was like 08, 09, right? But by comparison, right, if 6 months of supply is more balanced, we do tend to stay in sellers markets for longer periods of time. That might look like 4 months, though, would be closer to the national normal. We hit a recession, that spikes up a little bit towards 8, 9, 10, sometimes 12 months, and then we come back to that, balance, and then we quickly transition into usually sell side. But still, 4 or 5 months, more normal. Right now?
So at its lowest, before we get to right now, during the last 2 years when everyone was talking about how crazy of a seller's market it was and low inventory, like how low did it get?
There were weeks here in Atlanta, greater Atlanta area, including all of these, desirable stuff. No homes.
2 weeks later, out of house.
11 days at some point when I checked the stats, like 11 days, but usually around 15. So it was a little over that 2 week mark.
And we all know that 11 days with inventory were homes no one was ever buying.
Nobody.
So you're here.
Those same homes from 2 years ago, they're still on the market right now. Like, so there's that guy over there that lives in the shack. He's trying to sell it for 800.
So when
it's not selling.
So
ever.
When it said 11 days, what it really was 0 days. It was listed. If it's worth buying, it's sold.
Yeah, so whatever number I say, if I say, so right now, January, 2.1 months of inventory in greater Atlanta, it's really 1.6. Because those 2 weeks, just take them out. It's 1.6 months of inventory. You can take out the 0.5. Those homes, they're not going anywhere.
So we were in a situation where there was basically nothing anyone wanted. If it was listed and it was worthy, someone bought it immediately. And now we probably have 6 to 8 weeks of quality inventory. So sellers don't have all of the leverage. But is it a seller's market?
It's still a seller's market, though. 2.1 months of inventory. Things will change quickly. The reality is we're seeing it now, right? So January, the statistics look like things have slowed down, but they've slowed down relative to only 2 weeks of inventory, right? Yeah. 2.1 months, it's like, whoa, that's like 100 and some odd % increase. It's 2.1 months of inventory.
Right.
3 weeks ago, we start to see that evaporate. I think when we see February's numbers, it is going to paint a completely different picture. Yeah. But because, we have so little margin for error, these last 3 weeks, we've seen multiple offers again around here. We've seen 40 people showing up at open houses. An agent I know, 42 people at an open house on Lake Lanier.
I think it's
for a $950,000 second home.
From my perspective, it's really a tale of two houses. Still, at least here, around where we work. If it's a good home, there was a time, didn't matter what condition the home was in, didn't matter what area it was in, didn't matter what the price was, like 100 showings, 50 offers, above list, like sell it, gone.
Yeah, it felt like that for sure.
Which I think there's a lot of buyer's remorse, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that out there still.
A little bit of heartburn going on.
Some people are taking some pills at night to go to bed and sleep easy for the next year. They'll get back, though. They'll get it back.
So now I do feel like even the homes that are priced right, in a good location, like a good property, like it's still moving quickly.
Yeah, 7 to 10 days.
You might not have 50 offers, but you're still going to get multiple offers and it's going to move quickly. It's not like a buyer's market, feeding frenzy. Yes,
no. Listen, anybody who's using COVID as a baseline, the same people are using 2008, 2009 as a baseline, right? They called it the Great Recession because the only comparable moment in our economic history like it was the Great Depression.
1929.
Right? Yeah, there you go, Jeff. Right? I mean,
you were alive.
I was in 3rd grade. Playing t-ball, it was awesome. We didn't have shoes.
Jeff was delivering milk to people's door and ice, along with the ice guy.
Ball was a rock.
But yeah, you make those comparisons, and then it's the same thing. You can't compare a once in a 50-year period event, or a 100-year period event. I know we have pandemics here and there, but the way people reacted to it, this is a once in a 100-year. When was the Spanish flu, right?
That was 1914.
Oh, thank you.
That was the year I was born.
Jeff was born into it. But you see what I'm saying? It's a 1 in a 100-year event. Same thing kind of with the Great Recession. It's a 1 in a 100. That's not a baseline. That's not normal. Recessions in housing are normally very shallow or more shallow. right? So what we were looking at leading up to that pandemic, though, that a lot of agents refer to as normal, was also a strong seller's market. Basically, the stats we saw this January that I'm talking about, those are pre-COVID stats. We had 2 good years already. Then the pandemic just, blew it up. And now we're just getting back to
almost normal.
2 years worth of, but even that's not that normal.
From 2008 to 2012, real estate prices were going down. From 2012 to 2020, they were steadily climbing up, and inventory was falling. Rates were falling. 2020, I think, surprised everyone.
Right.
When a pandemic turned into a real estate boom instead of a real estate crash.
Exactly.
And so I think that was the wild card. I know nationally prices were down from June, July to now, depending on the source, 450, median down to 400. So a decent pullback, 20% or so across the country. But that was also like the worst markets were down. Miami somehow continues to go up. New York,
Very strong.
California down a lot.
Yeah. When you look at the news, oftentimes the headline
When we
I rarely
look at the news.
I don't really
Okay.
look that much, except here's what happened. I don't look because I don't believe it, and then somebody, that I know or a client sends me a headline. So a CNBC headline that I got said housing down as much as 15%. And they were talking about specifically, so the article, when you actually scroll and read the article, they immediately qualify that headline with a market in Texas that was already up 72% over the prior 2 years. So being down 15% was a joke, right? It's a joke. They were up 72 while the rest of the nation was up 40 something.
Yeah. Austin was the #1 city on the Zillow top 10 in 2021. It's number 29 now.
Yeah.
Because it absolutely was on fire. It was probably the one that was up 72%, and now it's completely down.
Everything reverts to the mean, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's exactly
so
right.
if you excel significantly over the mean, you're going to revert back to the mean. There's been recessions in this country where the media talks about, oh my gosh, housing's collapsing. Where? Orange County, that had an outrageous run up on the Panhandle.
And that collapse lasts 14 months. And then it comes right back.
Well, in the rest of the nation that cleave to the mean better, they don't see they see like this much variability.
Here's what I have, obviously y'all are a lot more tuned in locally because y'all are the brains of they're the actual realtors. I have a license, but I play one on YouTube.
Exactly.
You sure are good on camera, buddy.
But you slept at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Exactly. I've got the license plate on my car.
That I showed homes today. I operated on some dude on the side of the road. He let me.
But,
slept in a Holiday Inn Express.
Looking at a lot of the national trends and national data, it's really interesting because what I've noticed in the last couple of years is that Atlanta has been on the top 10 best markets for growth, appreciation, even value and affordability, at the same time that like Dallas or Houston or like some Chicago, like large major metro areas, Tampa, Orlando. And now fast forward to where the interest rates are up and everyone's worried about a crash, and all those markets like Austin that got too bubbly are actually falling off.
Yep. Revert to the mean.
And you know what's still on those top 10 lists?
That'd be us.
That would be Atlanta. But somehow now it's more like Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte, Nashville, even Columbia, Greenville, like these smaller southeastern cities are coming up on the up and coming markets. But we're still on the same. It's like I saw bigger cities
consistently in that 5 to 7.
Yeah, it's like
safety
we
zone.
don't get too far ahead and we don't ever fall too far behind. It's a really stable market, which is one of the things I love about it. And Alpharetta is like Disneyland. I mean, for those of you that aren't moving to Alpharetta, I'm sorry, but this bubble right here somehow does well no matter what's going on.
Yeah, so interestingly, right, in January, while home prices were flat throughout greater Atlanta, Alpharetta was down a fraction of a percent. But it makes total sense. It has has years of way surpassing the greater Atlanta area numbers. But to your point about the Disneyland, did we give back a little bit? Yeah, we were a little negative versus the rest of greater Atlanta being zero, but it was like fractions of a percent after we outpaced by significant percentages, right? And then, you know, the median price point is higher and all of that. So everything reverts to the mean. But, you know, nationally, here in Atlanta, we've been a steady grower. We haven't deviated from the mean that much. It's just that we have a stronger trend line.
And I may have talked over you after I asked the question. That
What?
happens occasionally. But
No.
pricing in greater Atlanta nationally, it was like 450 down to 4. What have we done here?
We were in the low 4s and we're in the upper 3s right now for greater Atlanta.
So that's pretty consistent, maybe a little bit lower than the rest of the country. I know Atlanta still.
Well, we started lower though,
Yeah.
right? If you look at the decrease, we did not go on the same give back. That when you were talking national trends, you were talking 20.
Yeah.
That looked like 14 here. We went on like a 14% give back here in Atlanta. We didn't, maybe 15, 16, depending on the part. But you know, same thing. We have parts of greater Atlanta that gave back 18. You know, in this area, a lot less, and then greater Atlanta though as a whole.
Jeff, why are you here?
Let's talk about money. Because we can't do real estate without money.
That's true. So I don't think if anyone hasn't noticed that interest rates have been changing. How does that affect affordability, buying power? Someone's thinking about buying or selling right now. Like, how do interest rates impact that? One. And then two is like, what's it look like going forward the rest of the year?
Sure. So, Denny, every time we get calls from people, hey, should I wait? I think interest rates are going to go back down. If I wait a year, how about if I rent for a year and then I'll buy in the fall or I'll buy next spring when the interest rates come back down? That's a very valid question because interest rates go up and down. And even today, I think they're down 1/16 of a point from yesterday.
Yeah.
So they do go up and down. But unfortunately, it's the wrong question to be asking. Let me explain why. From a historical standpoint, when you're talking about interest rates, the highest ever in the United States, 18.6 in 1981. October of 1981, 18.6%.
Yeah.
Here's the thing,
I
though.
was actually born then. A few years earlier.
Wow.
But not 19.
Dude, you've missed so
Jeff
much.
was like,
You don't even
bring
know
back
Babe
the
Ruth,
Great
baby.
Depression. In 81, Jeff was like, bring back the Great Depression. I miss it.
81, the median home price in the United States was $70,400. So if you take that $70,400 times 18.6, you come up with just over $1,000 principal and interest. Today, we're
So
just
for
a
a grand.
shade under 7%, and it's going to go up or down a little bit. But the median home price in the United States today is $471,000. That gives us a $3,000 mortgage payment. So the mistake is looking and saying, the interest rate's too high, I shouldn't buy. Because the national average for interest rates over the last 48 years is 7.75%.
We're below
We're
that.
still well below that.
Yeah, but last year I could have got 3.5.
Yes. But
Why am
don't
I-
ever hold your breath if
Should
that's
I
coming
wait?
back.
Should I hold my breath? I was just about that.
let's-
Should I let
Let's run. No, this is the beautiful part.
It'll come back. I know it's coming.
Let's run that thought process. So
Okay.
you wait a year in Alpha Rep, and
Right.
we go from 6.875 where we are now to 5.87.
Down a whole percent.
So we've lost.
Right.
What that means when you think about interest rates, when the Fed says we're raising it 1/4 of a point, what that means is your buying power, the cost of that money just went up 2.5%. So if they raise me a full point, the cost of that money just went up 10%. So that's 10% of my payment that's now going to interest that wasn't before. So we take today and we say, I'm going to wait a year, we're going to drop it a full point, but the price of the home does what you just said NAR said was going to do, and we go up 6%. 6% of 475 means you're still going to have a higher payment even if the interest rate drops a full point.
Yeah.
So you're still losing money, but Denny, that's really not even the right question.
Still not at the right question.
This is the brilliant thing.
Darn, I thought I knew this job.
No, Forbes
I
magazine
feel like this is one of
interviewed-
those trick tests, pop quizzes I walked into.
Forbes magazine interviewed 5 billionaires and asked them, what is the surest way to accumulate wealth in the United States? Every single one of them, their number one answer was invest in real estate.
Okay.
Here's the thing we have to be able to get our head around. So, how much was your first house?
185. My rate was 6.5.
Okay.
185.
Yeah, I want to say we paid about 175, and it was new construction. Like
74
I actually designed it.
My first house was $74,000. Okay. With the optional loft, it was 1,000 square feet. The thing we have to understand about investing in real estate is you're not buying your forever home on the first go around. Because what we want to do with real estate is leverage this never-ending hockey stick of the increase in value.
Yeah.
So the short answer is, should I be investing in real estate? The answer is always yes. You're purchasing what you can afford today because it will go up in value. So Denny, how many homes have you owned?
Even the flips.
No, just where you
Just
like.
you live there.
There's like how many times
The ones I gave away? Or the ones that I lived in?
Half dozen times. Did you lose money on any of those?
The first one.
First one. So you made money on 5.
Bought it in 06, sold it in 08.
Oh, sorry. Sucks to be you. So 5 times in a row.
I had
you
one
made
of
money.
those,
Hey,
sold it in
watch
08.
this. What did you do with that money that you made on each house?
Either another house or
Stuck it in the next house.
Yeah.
Same thing.
If you
Did the same
just do
thing.
what these billionaires say, at some point, if your dream home is $500,000, if you buy and sell enough pieces of property, you will eventually pay cash out of the proceeds of the increase, and you'll own a $500,000 house free and clear at the purchase, no mortgage. So if you're worried about interest rates today, the answer is jump in now in order to not have to pay any interest on the home that you finally decide this is my dream house.
Well, what's the interest rate on rent?
100%.
100%.
100% interest rate.
It's 100% interest rates. Like, I get it. There are other factors. But the reality is, right, if you're like, do I put on my big people panties and tighten my belt and figure out how to buy a home? Or do I just sit here and rent? Just understand, every time you say, right, rates are too high, if you're a renter, you're paying 100% rent,
Here's the magic. That
Okay.
same article interviewed the same guy, and he made the point. If you decide to rent, and at the time they did this article, it was $1,400 was average rent. $1,400. He said if you pay that for 28 years, you will have paid the equivalent of $500,000 in
crazy.
rent. Or you could have put that into a house, and now you're on your own $500,000 home.
Nationally, rents went up 7% last year, projected to go up 5 again this year.
Do you know what the rent is nationally for a 1-bedroom monthly rent? I don't know either, but I will say that in Atlanta we're at 17. Alpharetta is around 19.
I was going to say almost 2,000.
Yeah,
here in
it's
Alpharetta.
1900 and change here in Alpharetta, and it's 17-ish hundred around
Hey, Dan,
Atlanta
Can I
for
ask you a
one
question?
bedroom.
So all of those
We should
houses
probably do a
that you
video on renting.
all
Yeah,
those
we'll do it.
houses that you bought that you had people renting, who was paying the mortgage? Were you paying that mortgage?
So here's a fun fact. My dad died in 2006. That was not fun. But my mom couldn't afford the home that they had raised us in. And so we got her a 1,100 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhome in Grovetown, Georgia. Right outside of Augusta. By the way, great place to buy a house.
Right
now, it's a
Right
great
now.
market, right?
But
Yeah, exactly.
got her a townhome there, and then when I started having children, she moved in with us. Well, when we bought it, same thing. He died in 06. We bought it height of the,
Height of the market.
Peak of the market.
Yes, $93,000 in Augusta.
A little less expensive there than Atlanta
By
and
the
the nation.
time she moved in with us a few years later, the value had dropped to $60,000. The mortgage, interest, insurance, HOA, whole thing, $550 a month. I rented it for $850 a month. I used the $300 extra money to pay down principal. I didn't need any of the money out of the property. I sold it in 2019. Hindsight, bad decision.
Yeah, missed it. This much.
It's 100% appreciation.
Dude, you are the king of timing.
But for the same price I bought it for.
Yeah, and then had all that income, all those years of income.
Taxable profit, 0.
Jeez.
Equity in the home that went into my bank account at closing,
Right.
$35,000.
Yeah.
Bought
Did somebody else pay?
Overpaid for a house.
Yeah. Overpaid. Took the
Rented
entire
it to
hit.
someone
Right.
else, held it until I could sell it for what I bought it for, and still put $35,000.
Which brings us to the consistency of real estate a little bit, right? And this ties into what you were saying.
Before we go,
Oh,
biggest regret, I didn't buy 10 of them.
you're right.
Right.
20 of them.
Yeah.
When it hit 60,000, I should have
Should've been buying
the
the
neighborhood.
The whole neighborhood. Just go.
Well, okay, here's the
What were-
misnomer.
No.
Everybody says, but I don't know, I can't do it because what if it doesn't go up?
That's
All you have
exactly
to stop
where
it.
I was
Just
going.
look at the historical trend.
Matter of time.
It might go down, but it always goes up.
When in this country can you pay dollar for dollar? In other words, a $1,900 How much would that cost me today in 2023? If I was to buy $1 from the 1900, what's the difference, right? It's significant because
You're gonna love this because I actually
you have that on your
this
phone,
for us.
weirdo.
You guys chat amongst yourselves.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
gonna
got
pull
an
this
app.
up. You're gonna
He's
love
got
this.
an app. But yeah, I mean, since the 1990s in this, a dollar in like the mid 1990s is worth like $1.92 to this day. So twice as much. So there's this beautiful GDP growth and everything. We all look at it. It's kind of a positive thing. We all prefer our economy to move forward. In periods of inflation, because I know you guys talk to people who are nervous about inflation and what that means to them, right? When there's inflation, high levels, low levels, consistent levels, where does inflation money find its way to the most in our economy?
Always housing.
Hard assets. Gold goes up, right? Everybody always says gold's consistent. Yeah, it is. It's amazing that we talk about buy gold. Like everybody knows that intuitively. Their dad used to say buy gold because, you know,
not making any more of it.
Yeah, they're not making any more of it. Stuff.
Buy dirt.
There's no
They're
more
not
land,
making any
people.
more.
The earth isn't growing. Last time I went to a physics thing on YouTube,
not getting any bigger.
The world is not getting. Our earth is not getting bigger. So there's
You mean
no
they're
more
not
land
gonna
being
find another
created.
continent out in the Pacific
Yeah,
Ocean?
I love those sci-fi movies, though, even though I don't really believe it.
Okay,
but.
so back to your question. In 1940, the average home price was $2,938. If we adjust that for inflation, that house today is $30,600. What that means is, where that goes with what you're saying is, that is a 3,000% increase
in the value,
of that house.
Yeah, the dollar, right?
Right.
It's really the dollar.
So the dollar that they put in 1940,
Gotten a
even
really
if the
good
house
return.
had never actually increased in value, would still have gone up 3,000%.
Cool. Well, hey, I think moral to the story is when's the best time to buy real estate?
Now.
Years ago.
Yeah, plant the tree. When was the best time
Well,
to plant?
only-
yeah.
only
yeah.
Doc
20
Brown
years
can
ago.
do that.
20 years ago.
When's the next best time?
Today.
Right now.
Right
Yep.
now.
Today.
So, hopefully you guys found value in that. Hey, listen, we always want to be a resource. Hopefully, you know, that this provides you a little bit of insights into not just what the market has done, but what it will do. We always encourage you, whether you're moving next week, next year, anytime in between, call, text, email, schedule a Zoom. We had a client in town for the last 2 days visiting schools and looking at homes and what. She's not even sure she's coming here, but she's like, hey, can I come see what the lifestyle's like? We're like, yeah, come on, check it out.
Oh yeah, we had coffee with her, took her all over the place, had a great time.
Lunch.
Pancakes tomorrow.
Nice.
So,
Hey, did you get an invite for pancakes? I didn't get an invite.
I was at lunch. I did hear him talk about the
You guys saw
I
that,
did.
right?
I did.
You see who get the old guy. You know what? They're worried I'm not going to be out of bed yet.
It's
That's the
your
problem.
gluten intolerance, or so we don't want to hurt you, man.
So regardless of when you're moving, do reach out. We'd love to be a resource. If you haven't already, subscribe below, ring the bell for notifications so you know when we release content and you can stay up to date on the market. And as usual, until we see you in person, we'll see you on the next episode.